Discover the incredible day a man struggled with God's angel and transformed his faith forever. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, under the vast sky of Peniel, Jacob sat by the banks of the Jabbok River, his soul heavy with the memories of his past. The cool night air rustled through the trees, whispering secrets of unease and fear. It was the eve before he would encounter his brother Esau, the very brother he had deceived, stealing both his birthright and blessing. Jacob's heart pounded in his chest like a drum, echoing the weight of his choices. The deceitful hands that had once clasped his brother's heels in their mother's womb were now clenched in doubt and dread. The stars flickered above him, celestial lights flickering like distant promises, yet unattainable, each one a reminder of the covenant given to his father Isaac and grandfather Abraham. Yet in this moment of solitude, Jacob felt alone, burdened by the specter of Esau's anger and the betrayals that had defined his path. He recalled the steamy bowl of lentils that had bought him his brother's birthright, the desperate moment when a simple meal had seemed worth more than the future. His heart sank as he thought of Esau's face, twisted with fury on the day of their parting, an image that haunted Jacob at all hours. Suddenly, a rustle in the air disturbed the stillness, a figure appearing from the shadows, looming and powerful. In that fleeting moment, an instinct surged through Jacob. This was not merely an ordinary man, but a divine being. With an urgency born of desperation, he lunged forward, driven by the primal need to confront not only this angelic entity, but the very essence of his own soul. The ensuing struggle was fierce. It was no mere grappling of bones, but a wrestling of spirits and identities. Jacob refused to yield, his grip tightening around the angel, determined and resolute as he cried out, "I will not let you go until you bless me." The cry echoed in the stillness, trembling with emotion, a mixture of faith and yearning. This was a moment that would intertwine his destiny and the future of his lineage as he clung to the rebel within, wrestling for forgiveness, identity, and purpose. The night wore on, the struggle intensifying as the edges of dawn began to soften the darkness. The angel, realizing that Jacob was unwilling to surrender, simply touched his hip, dislocating it with a single act of divine power. Pain sliced through him like a knife, yet Jacob held on tighter in defiance, knowing that his fight was for more than just a blessing. It was for redemption and perhaps even restoration with Esau. In that raw vulnerability, God imparted a new name to him, Israel, a name signifying one who strives with God. As the first light of dawn spread across the horizon, Jacob emerged from the struggle, limping yet transformed, marked not just by the pain, but by an invincible hope. As he prepared to meet Esau, the questions loomed larger than life in his weary mind. Would his brother receive him? Or would the past come crashing down, reclaiming him as a victim of his own errors? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. With the sun illuminating his path, Jacob stood at the threshold of reconciliation, a deep tension thrumming within him as he faced the uncertain road ahead, a road that would reveal not just his relationship with Esau, but ultimately the very truth of God's faithfulness in his life. What awaited him beyond the river would challenge him further, weaving the legacy of Israel into the fabric of faith and divine purpose. Jacob walked forward, marked by struggle, yet emboldened by the promise. The story was far from over. As the sun broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the landscape, Jacob approached the path leading to his brother Esau's encampment. Each step echoed in his heart, pulsating with trepidation and hope, a reflection of the turmoil he had endured. The weight of the world, the burden of his past illusions, and the mark of divine struggle lingered as reminders of who he had been and who he was becoming. Jacob paused, and lifting his gaze, he beheld the distant form of his brother's camp. Fear clutched at his heart, tightening like a noose. Would Esau wield the sword of vengeance born from betrayal, or had the years softened the sharp edges of their enmity? In that moment of indecision, he cast his mind back to the blessing he had received from God through the angel. The promise of nations, the assurance that he would be the progenitor of a lineage blessed by the Almighty, resonated within him like a resounding rhythm. In his heart he prayed, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, you who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your kindred, that I may do you good,' I am unworthy of all the steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant." Genesis 32, verses 9 to 10. This was a moment of crucible. His very spirit wrestled against doubt and dread. The echoes of his identity wrestled again within him. As he continued towards the camp, he sent messengers ahead to Esau, hoping to gain a glimpse of his brother's heart. He placed them among the herds and livestock he had nurtured, a subtle offering to pacify the bitterness that may still reside in Esau's heart. His servants returned with tidings that chilled Jacob to his core. "Esau is coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him." Genesis 32:6. Struck with fear, Jacob's heart raced. Surely, he thought, Esau seeks retribution for the wrongs of the past. The thoughts cascaded through him mercilessly, the memories of stolen blessings, forgotten love, fractured by deceit. What shall I do? My brother may seek vengeance for my betrayals. In the throes of his anxiety, Jacob divided his camps, thinking to save at least part of his family if Esau intended harm. Not unlike the trembling leaves of the trees above, uncertainty danced through him. Yet, in the depths of this turmoil, there arose a whisper, a reminder of the divine promise upon his life, the assurance that he was now Israel, one who strives with God. In a moment of desperation, Jacob turned to prayer once more. He wrestled not with an angel this time, but with his own fear and shame. "O God, deliver me from my brother's hand, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me, the mothers with the children. But you said, 'I will surely do you good.'" Genesis 32:11-12. The essence of his prayer was encapsulated in a plea for mercy, an acknowledgement of his unworthiness, paired with God's unwavering faithfulness. As the evening descended and darkness cloaked the land, Jacob wrestled with the weight of his legacy. Like the angel of the night, he faced the abyss of his past. Yet the light of dawn burned steadily within him. And then, in the stillness, a fresh revelation broke upon him. The very fear of his brother had aligned him towards an incredible truth. The journey of reconciliation was not solely with Esau, but also a meeting with the God of his ancestors, who had been faithful in every circumstance. As he drew closer to the unfolding dawn, Jacob felt the stirrings of an incredible truth stir within him, an understanding that beyond the horizon lay not just the face of Esau, but the radiant face of forgiveness and the promise of a lineage that would be reconciled to God himself. And so the path lay open before him, laden with both anxiety and hope, the specter of his brother's wrath and the promise of God's faithfulness intertwined in a mysterious dance. Little did Jacob know that the day would unfold a greater saga than he could ever comprehend, a day where not just sons of Israel would emerge, but a union that would change the course of history and forever reveal the depths of God's redemptive plan for his people. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, illuminating the path forward, Jacob prepared himself to face his brother, but not without the anxiety of those haunting memories. The air was thick with expectation, and with every heartbeat, he was all too aware of the duality of his situation. On one hand, the promise of reconciliation, and on the other, the specter of wrath. Jacob gathered his family and spoke reassuring words to them.
"Let us take courage, for what awaits us ahead is filled with the unknown, but we hold to the hope of God's faithfulness." His words served as a fragile shield against the uncertainty that loomed. His wives and children, though aware of their father's inner turmoil, responded with quiet resolve, their eyes fixed on the unfolding path. Encouraged, he instructed his servants to march ahead, leading the offerings, goats, sheep, camels, all gifts designed to appease Esau's heart. If he sees the gifts, perhaps his anger will be softened, Jacob thought. clutching tightly to a flicker of hope that danced amidst the shadows of fear. As he drew near, the sight of Esau's camp grew clearer. The tension wrapped around Jacob like a cloak, and he remembered the blessings and promises of God, the land that would be his, the descendants born of his lineage who would carry forth the covenant. In the distance, Jacob spotted Esau. He looked every bit the warrior of old, strong and fierce, flanked by his men. The sight quickened Jacob's pulse, but then in an instant, all pretense of control faded. Jacob fell to the ground, bowing low before his brother. 7 times he prostrated himself to the earth, a sign of humility and surrender, for he was a man transformed in this moment. Esau advanced, and Jacob's heart tightened. This was the culmination of their decades of estrangement. Would he meet a brother or an adversary? But as Esau came closer, the fierce countenance of wrath melted, revealing a heart filled with unexpected grace. "Jacob," Esau exclaimed, his voice powerful yet tender, as he reached him. He embraced Jacob, lifting him from the ground, and kissed him, both men weeping as tears of reconciliation flowed freely, washing over the past, like the gentle rain that nourishes the earth. Genesis 33:4. Jacob's heart surged with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "To see your face is like seeing the face of God," he declared, recognizing the kindness that overflowed from Esau, which could only have come from above. Genesis 33:10. He offered his gifts, insisting that they be accepted. "For truly I have seen your face, and it is as if I have seen the face of God," he repeated, the weight of years lifted from his shoulders. Genesis 33:10. Yet beyond the emotional reunion, Jacob sensed that the reconciliation had far deeper implications. It was a reflection of the deeper reconciliation that would one day occur between God and humanity, a powerful reminder of divine grace extended towards those who had strayed far from him. As they ventured back towards the camp, with hope rekindled between brothers, Jacob pondered how his new identity as Israel would now spur him towards a legacy intertwined with grace and the promise of deliverance. Even as the sun rose higher, casting a hopeful light over the land, Jacob remained keenly aware that God's sovereign plan was at work.
Last night I wrestled with a messenger of his presence, and he changed my name and my destiny. Jacob recounted the shape of the darkness that encroached on him, the trials that laid under its weight, yet he spoke of how the Lord had given him victory. As he shared his story, the reports of the land before them ignited in the hearts of his family, a promise hinted through each word. Yet while their spirits soared with hope, a convolution of fears laid beneath the excitement. The animosities of the past still loomed between the brothers, not completely erased by a night of forgiveness. Days passed as they continued their journey, Jacob leading them steadily toward Shechem. Each night he felt compelled to offer heartfelt prayers unto the Lord, expressing gratitude for the blessings poured upon him and seeking wisdom for the path ahead. He felt an unfamiliar stirring within him, as though the very heavens were moving beneath the earth. But as they approached the region of Shechem, Jacob heard rumors of the Canaanites, the inhabitants there being hostile. The news gripped him with dread, for he sensed that not all was well. Was this the first trial of his new name? Would the promise he garnered come under threat? Just then, amid his growing concerns, he saw a figure on the horizon, an unfamiliar man cloaked in robes that shimmered under the sun. He was approaching with a gait that spoke of urgency. As the figure drew closer, Jacob could sense a presence that transcended normal. "Jacob, son of Isaac," the man called out, his voice resonating with authority and warmth. "I am a messenger of God, sent to prepare your heart, not for the peace you seek, but for a trial of your faith." The words slipped into Jacob's soul, igniting a fierce conflict. "Why must there be trial when God has granted me peace?" Jacob replied, the desperation creeping into his voice. Yet the man's gaze was unwavering. "Great transformations often come at a cost, Israel. You must prepare yourself, for a storm is to rise, and only through your trials will the strength you have gained be tested. The seed of nations will spring forth from you, and with it burdens of hope and despair. The path of promise is mired in challenges, yet do not lose sight of the blessing that will unfold." Breathless with revelation, Jacob stood trembling. He understood the messenger spoke truth. The journey would not be simple, but he must harness the transformation that lay within.
Resolutely, he turned to his family, who could see the weight pressed upon their father. Together they would weather the storm. And as the message reverberated through him, Jacob sensed a profound shift, a preparation unfolding within. He would embrace all that was to come, the trials, the blessings, the legacy. God's sovereign plan was ahead, and while darkness loomed, so too did the promise of restoration emblazed in the heart of every new dawn.
For soon, the world would learn that the lineage of Israel was shaped not merely through the light, but through the wrestling shadows of faith, the very essence of God's intricate design, yet to be revealed. As Jacob and his family approached the land of Shechem, unease settled heavily upon him, a weight upon his heart that echoed the clock of destiny approaching its hour. The children darted about, but the laughter felt fragile, as if it could shatter against the rocks of impending confrontation. Jacob observed his sons, their faces mirroring both joy and trepidation, the forces of life intertwining in uncertain possibilities. One evening, as dusk enveloped the camp and the stars began their luminous dance, Jacob gathered his sons under the open sky. Flames flickered, casting shadows of dancing figures on the ground. "My children, we have come to a land promised to our forefathers, yet the heart of our journey holds trials we must prepare to face," he said, his voice steady, tempered by the urgency of foresight. "Father," spoke Simeon, his brow creased with worry, "the Canaanites are fierce, and we are but a small family. How can we walk unscathed among them?" "The Lord has called us to this place, Simeon," Jacob replied. "Like the flames that refine silver, our faith must be tempered by the fire of adversity. Our God is with us. We must trust in his promise and courageously forge ahead." With each passing day, the sense of foreboding grew, and Jacob sought the Lord in prayers that flowed like a rush of water from a weary riverbed. One twilight, as he knelt beneath the stars, a vision unfolded before him. He envisioned a staircase stretching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending, a bridge between the divine and mortal realms. He felt the gentle whisper of the Holy Spirit, compelling him to know the immensity of God's covenant more profoundly. The next morning, having received the assurance of God's presence, Jacob decided to send messengers ahead into Shechem to seek terms of peace with the inhabitants. With trepidation, he watched as they departed, their silhouettes tapering into the distance, carrying the weight of his hopes. Days lingered like shadows, and the news returned, heavy like the torch borne from a distant flame. The messengers bore word that the Canaanites were indeed hostile, and they had converged upon the land in large numbers, ready to defend it fiercely. Panic gripped Jacob's heart, but he remembered the words of the messenger he had encountered. That night, as he lay awake, wrestling with thoughts of safety and destiny, a fear pierced through him. What if this moment represented the sacrifice that must usher the blessing of nations? Would the lineage of Israel arise from bloodshed and tears? Despondently, he wrestled with God as he had with the angel, questioning whether the blessings ahead were worth the cost they might incur.
Then, in that restless night, the Lord spoke to him once more, through dreams woven in profound images. Jacob perceived a vision of a multitude arising from his line, greater than the stars of heaven and the sand upon the seashore. "Israel," the voice echoed through the valley of his spirit, "fear not, for I am with you, and I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Through your faithfulness, the earth shall witness my glory." Filled with resolve, Jacob rose with the dawn, his heart ignited anew. "To the Canaanites we shall go," he declared to his family around the morning fire, "not under the banner of fear, but as a testament of our God's sovereignty." And as they ventured forth, Jacob felt a shift within him, the very essence of a man transformed. The trials ahead were not mere obstacles, but instruments in the hands of the divine sculptor, shaping the destinies of nations. For the storm was rising, yet so too was the promise that God would fulfill his word in the face of adversity. In the depths of struggle lie the avenues for divine revelation, for soon all would learn that victory is often birthed through tribulation. What wonders would unfold through the crucible of Jacob's faith? As the sun cast its golden rays upon the camp, Jacob, armed with newfound conviction, led his family toward Shechem. His heart beat steadily, buoyed by the assurance of God's promise. The path ahead, laden with uncertainty, seemed to shimmer with divine intent, hidden yet potent. Approaching the city, Jacob instructed his sons to prepare themselves. "We are emissaries of the Most High," he proclaimed, looking into their eyes. "Let us bear witness not only to our courage, but also to our faith in him who has brought us here." With this declaration, the air began to hum with a mix of tension and expectation, as if creation itself awaited the unfolding of God's plan. Upon entering Shechem, the men of the city gathered, their eyes glinting with hostility. Jacob stood firm, swallowing his trepidation.
Among them emerged Shechem, the chief, a man towering in stature, full of bravado. "Why has a band of wanderers dared to cross into our land?" he questioned, his voice echoing like thunder, striking fear into the hearts of those around Jacob. Jacob lifted his chin, steadfast against the fierce gaze of the leader. "We seek peace, for our God has commanded us to dwell in harmony. We desire no ill will, but wish only to settle our families here." His voice, though calm, quivered with the weight of the moment, threading faith into the fabric of his words. Yet Shechem's laughter soared over him. "Peace? What pledge do you bring that speaks louder than your prophets? Are you so willing to lay down your lives for mere words?" The Canaanite warriors shifted, emboldened by their leader's mockery. In this moment, a profound stillness overcame Jacob. He remembered the divine assurance of his vision.
"I am but a servant of the Lord," he declared. And with the spirit of the promise echoing in his heart, he continued, "You may look upon us as weak, but do not believe the eyes of flesh. For the God of the heavens stands with us, and through our faith we shall be victorious." Simeon, emboldened by his father's courage, stepped forth beside Jacob. "We shall prove our worth to you, not through bloodshed, but through honor. Allow us to dwell among you as neighbors, and we will show you that our God blesses those who do good." With these words, the Canaanite warriors shifted uneasily, the heart of Shechem faltering for a heartbeat as uncertainty crept into the bold facade. In that divine intersection of faith and fear, Jacob saw a crack emerge in the wall of hostility. Before the chief could retort, a commotion broke forth amongst the crowd. Men wailed, women lamented, and children cried out in chaos, for word had spread that a mighty beast had broken into the outskirts of the city, terrorizing both livestock and people. In the moment of their distraction, Jacob whispered fervent prayers, his heart racing as he sensed the divine hand shuffling the cards of fate. "Israel," the echoed voice of the Lord filled his spirit with courage. "This is your time, for the darkness that surrounds you shall soon give way to my light." A trembling seized the assembly, and they hastily prepared to confront the threat outside the city. Jacob gestured to his sons. "Our God remains sovereign even now. Let us not falter." As the Canaanites hurried from the square, Jacob felt the stirring of a great truth within him. The trials ahead would not only forge a path for his family, but also unlock the peace for which he yearned. In the tumult of the moment, unseen gears of God's plan turned. What awaited Jacob and his sons in this land fraught with danger would soon reveal not only their fate, but also the legacy hidden within the providential tapestry woven by the Lord's hand. For in turmoil, God often orchestrates redemption. And though the storm loomed overhead, Jacob's spirit began to soar with expectation. Blessed was he who walked in faith, for the promise yet refrained to reveal its full glory. What covenant promise remained unspoken that would forever alter the lives of nations? As the Canaanite warriors rushed forth to confront the fearsome beast that threatened the outskirts, Jacob turned to his sons, his heart stirred with a mix of dread and anticipation. "Prepare yourselves for the confrontation, for it is in the face of peril that we may find strength," he urged, his voice steady despite the encroaching chaos. The sons of Jacob gathered close, their faces a tapestry of resolve and concern. Levi, fierce and unyielding, raised his spear high. "Let us show these men that the God of Israel is with us, that we do not cower in fear, nor shrink from battle." His fervor ignited within them a flame of courage.
As the cacophony of cries and the sounds of hooves drew nearer, Jacob lifted his gaze towards the heavens. In that turbulent moment, he sensed the presence of the Almighty nearby, like a guardian breach waiting in the folds of destiny. "O Lord, guide us in this hour," he prayed. "Reveal your purpose amidst this storm." When the dust settled, the Canaanite leaders stood poised at the edge of town, and a few of Jacob's sons, filled with the fire of the Spirit, stepped forward ahead of their father. They knew the beast was not mere flesh, but a divine test, a trial of faith designed to reveal not only the hearts of the Canaanites, but theirs as well. From the edge of Shechem, a low growl rumbled, cutting through the air like a sharpened knife. The creature, an enormous lion weaved with shadows, lunged towards the warriors. Gasps erupted from the onlookers as Jacob's heart thundered in his chest. But there was no retreat, not now. "Brother, together!" Simeon shouted, and with that he and Levi charged forth, brandishing their weapons against the terrifying creature. An unearthly roar split the air as they collided with the beast, their faith surging through every swing and stab. "We battle not only for ourselves, but for the promise of our God," Levi shouted, echoing the shared conviction of their heritage. But to the surprise of all, the lion, though fierce, could not withstand the determined faith of Jacob's sons. With every strike, as they fought in unison, they felt the hand of the Lord upon them. It was as if the power of heaven coursed through their arms, pushing them to win despite the daunting odds. In that moment, a hush fell over the gathered crowd as they beheld the remarkable truth unfolding before their eyes. The beast faltered, its fierce growls diminishing into whimpers, and soon it succumbed to the might of faith and family. With one final blow, the lion lay vanquished, a testament to God's deliverance. Cheers erupted from Jacob's family, and even the Canaanite men stood in awe, taken aback by this miraculous event. Jacob, witnessing the transformation of fear into faith among his sons, felt a revelation stir within his spirit. "God has shown himself mightily today," he declared with a voice of authority. "Let this be a sign to you all. His power is upon us. His promise is true." Shechem, witnessing the unyielding resolve of Jacob's family and the undeniable strength manifested through their faith in the true God, moved first with trepidation, but then with understanding. "Perhaps there is a truth we have overlooked," he murmured, recognizing a divine encounter in the midst of their trial. "And peace shall reign," Jacob spoke, as a ripple of faith extended through the assembly, bridging the space between their worlds. "For the Lord shall make a covenant even with those who were once enemies, and peace will be sown upon the fabric of this land."
In the midst of this covenant-making, a gentle breeze swept through the valley, carrying with it the echoes of heaven's promise. As Jacob looked upon Shechem, something profound hung in the balance. What God was weaving in the hearts of men, new alliances and understandings that would shape the destinies of generations to come. But even as the day wore on, and their victory resounded in the hearts of those present, Jacob felt a stirring in his own spirit, a knowing that this day was only the beginning. What greater challenges lay ahead? What deeper trials would forge the faith of his heirs? And what sovereign purpose awaited to unfold for the nations yet to be born? Such questions lingered in his heart, a whisper of the Lord's compelling and mysterious lead, a reminder that God's covenant was as vast as the skies above and infinitely more intricate than he could behold. As the echoes of jubilation swirled around him, Jacob's heart remained heavy with contemplation. In the stillness that followed their triumph, he turned his gaze inward, pondering the magnitude of what had just transpired. "The Lord has fought for us," he murmured, the weight of understanding settling within him. "But why has he chosen this day for us to witness such might?" The sun dipped low in the horizon, casting a golden hue over the land, illuminating the faces of those around him. The sons of Jacob, vibrant in their newfound hope, gathered once more at his side. Judah, the fourth son, spoke with a voice that resonated with confidence. "Father, what is our next course? The Canaanites have seen the power of our Lord. Let us seize this moment and declare our presence here." But Jacob, reflecting on the deeper truths he sensed unfolding, shook his head gently. "To proclaim our strength is wise, my son, yet it is humility before God that will lead us onward. The battle was never ours, but the Lord's." Amidst the fading light, a figure emerged from the shadows across the valley. It was the elder of Shechem, a man whose face had been transformed through their shared experience of divine intervention. With cautious steps, he approached Jacob, reverence evident in his demeanor. "You have shown us today the power of unity and faith in the one true God. Let us forge a covenant that surpasses mere words, binding our peoples in justice and peace." As Jacob listened, an overwhelming gratitude surged within him. He raised his voice, strong yet tender. "Then let it be a testament of our resolve, a covenant not only for this age, but a legacy for the generations to follow. Let it be said that in this valley, hearts were turned toward the Most High." Awed by the sight of this new alliance forming, Jacob's sons began to murmur with excitement. Yet in the depths of his spirit, Jacob felt an unsettling whisper echoing in the quiet places of his heart. The covenant was merely a beginning. Would they remain steadfast amidst trials yet unseen? As night descended, Jacob sought solitude, retreating beyond the circle of their gathered tribe. He walked under the vastness of the starlit sky, drawn into the presence of the Almighty. Kneeling in the cool earth, he cried out, "O Lord, my God, I am but a man unworthy of such acts of deliverance. What are you revealing to me in this time?" In the stillness, a whisper brushed against his soul, the assurance of God's immeasurable love and the complexities of his plan. He sensed that one day, within these layered promises, he would struggle for deeper understanding. A new dawn awaited, overshadowed by trials and triumphs alike. Yet as he rose to return to his people, something remarkable happened. A presence unlike any other filled the air, rustling the leaves like a gentle wind. Jacob looked, his heart pounding, and there stood an angel, radiating light and authority. "Jacob, you have prevailed in faith," the angel declared, a voice both powerful and reassuring. "You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have wrestled with God and with man, and you have triumphed." With these words, a flood of understanding washed over Jacob. The struggles he feared were not mere battles, they were life-giving encounters designed to transform his heart and the hearts of his descendants. As the angel vanished, Jacob's resolve grew firm. "I shall carry this new name with pride as a reminder of God's faithfulness," he vowed. "For in every trial there is purpose, and in every struggle a promise." The night deepened, yet Jacob's spirit burned bright with hope. He returned to his family, eager to share the wonder he had encountered. As he gathered them close, he understood that what awaited them was a journey fraught with hardships, but also a promise of unfathomable blessings. For in the days to come, a grand chapter was about to unfold, revealing the depths of God's sovereign plan, one that would resonate through the ages, calling forth a people who would magnify his name amidst all nations. And thus, the mysteries of the divine began to weave ever tighter into the fabric of their lives. As the sun ascended on the horizon, casting its glorious rays upon the land, Jacob, now known as Israel, gathered his family by the banks of the Jabbok. The morning light illuminated their faces, reflecting the transformation within them, reborn from fear to hope through the trials they had faced. The waters of the Jabbok flowed gently by, a reminder of the grace that had washed over Jacob, restoring him to his divine identity. "Children," Israel called, his voice resonant with newfound authority. "The Lord our God has walked with us through darkness and light. He has revealed his faithfulness and the path to our destiny, a legacy woven through trials, love, and reconciliation. We are chosen vessels for his covenant." The spirit of unity swelled among Jacob's sons, their hearts echoing the truth of their father's journey.
Recalling the struggles that had once divided them from the Canaanites, Jacob continued, "Let us not merely dwell in the land promised to our forefathers, but also cultivate peace and forge bonds with our neighbors. In humility, let us extend our hands in friendship, for the strength of nations lies not in power alone, but in the spirit of love. We shall be carriers of God's light in this world." His words kindled a flame in the hearts of his sons, who had once been clouded by doubts and the weight of their history. It was as if the shadows that loomed over them began to dissipate, replaced by the warmth of divine promise. Judah, emboldened by his father's vision, stepped forward, proclaiming, "Let us embrace the families of Shechem, for they witnessed our battle and disaster make way for victory. Together we shall worship the one true God." And in that moment, the vision of a united community flickered to life, a mosaic of tribes and families drawn together by divine purpose. As they approached Shechem and its people later that day, a new sense of assurance enveloped them. The Canaanites, witnessing the transformation in Israel and his sons, began to recognize the beauty of a covenant forged in the heart of trials. Shechem himself stepped forth, humility lining his features. "Israel, what you have demonstrated this day goes beyond valor. It is a testament to God's handiwork. We extend our hand in alliance, for it is clear that the God who fights for you is mighty. Let us worship together, forming a bond sealed not merely by treaties, but by hearts turned toward the divine." With these words, a sacred covenant arose from the ashes of former enmity, entwining the destinies of both Israel and the Canaanites. Together they constructed an altar upon the hills, laying the foundations of worship, where praises would be offered to the Lord who had delivered Israel with an omnipotent hand. As days turned into weeks, the families flourished and the land thrived, a testament to God's grace over all of them.
Israel's sons became emissaries of peace, walking among the Canaanites, sharing stories of their God, whose promise stretched through generations. The legacy began to form anew, teaching all who would listen of mercy and redemption. Yet, amidst the joy, Israel's heart remained attuned to the whispers of the Almighty. He sensed that this was but a beginning. The larger narrative of promises hung in the balance, an intricate tapestry that would unfold through generations. A promise not simply for Israel, but for all nations, reaching to the ends of the earth. In quiet moments, Israel would often retreat to the fields of Shechem, seeking the presence of the Lord. There, under the broad expanse of the heavens, his prayers returned to the core of his being. O Lord, grant wisdom and strength to my children. May they carry forth the legacy you have begun, rooted firmly in faith, that their hearts may be drawn ever deeper into your story.
In time, the Lord spoke again, confirming Israel's aspirations. Your descendants will become a great nation, one that blesses the world. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Fear not, for I am with you. And so the generations began to stir. From Israel came the 12 tribes, a lineage fraught with struggle, yet luminous with purpose. Names echoed through the ages: Judah, Joseph, Levi, each son destined to weave their saga into the rich fabric of history. And as life flourished, the covenant unfolded, destined to change the course of humanity forever. So, praise echoed through the hills of Canaan, hymns of gratitude rising like incense before the throne of grace, illuminating the path toward redemption. The story of Israel was now intertwined with the divine narrative, an eternal testament of God's unfailing love and sovereign plan. Now, dear reader, the echoes of Jacob's legacy speak still, a reminder of the divine promises fulfilled. Step into this story. Allow it to transform your heart, as it has through generations. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word as we dive deeper into these powerful narratives. Each story is an invitation to grow in faith. Don't wait even one more second. Like this video to help spread God's truth through the algorithm, and comment below your reflections and how this account of Israel has impacted your life. Share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to experience the transforming love of Christ. Together, let's magnify God's name with a resounding chorus, each action a ripple in the waters of faith that blesses the world.